Hello everyone! Today I'm here to review a book for you. Today I will finally be talking about Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. If you haven't heard of Tower of Dawn, it is the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series, as you can see all behind me. And this follows from Chaol's perspective. So, technically this book is not a sequel to Empire of Storms, which is right here. This book actually takes place at the same time of Empire of Storms, just from different characters in a different place, if that makes any sense. This book follows Chaol. Chaol is a main part of Throne of Glass, and he was not in Empire of Storms at all, as we were all wondering, and Sarah J. Maas decided to write a novella at first. That's right, this book was supposed to be a novella, but she quickly got immersed in the story and decided to make it a full-fledged novel, make it the 6th Throne of Glass book at that, and here we are. So, this book has had a lot of controversy because of Chaol the character. Chaol the character is a character you either really enjoy or you really don't enjoy. I have loved Chaol from day one. I have always been a Chaol shipper. I love Chaol. I was very excited when I learned that there was going to be a Chaol book because I felt he needed it so much, especially after the events of Queen of Shadows. So basically, I'm going to talk about this book. I did not write very many notes because I don't write notes while reading. I just wrote a ton of notes after I read it. So this review is going to be kind of scatterbrained. I'm probably going to leave out, I know I'm going to leave out a ton of things, but I'm going to try to go over the main points, the main topics that I want to talk about, probably the ending, a lot of the characters and character development, and just my overall opinion of it. First things first is I'm going to tell you what my opinion about this book is overall, and then I will go into spoilers, so don't be worried if you have not read this yet. I'll let you know when it's not safe to watch. So it took me a long time to read. Usually Sarah J. Maas books take me a little bit longer than usual to read, but this one took me like 3 weeks, which is a lot for me to read. I try to read a book every like 4 to 5 days, so 3 weeks is quite a feat for me. And the reason it took me so long to read it is because there was a whole new set of characters in this book. We're in a whole different continent. We take place in the southern continent. We've never been there before. These people we've never met before. There was just so much world building that needed to happen, the groundwork before this book got interesting. So the first half of this book was very slow in my opinion. A ton of groundwork, like I said, a ton of world building, a ton of introduction to characters and things like that. So the first 300 pages took me so long to get through. However, the last 350 pages, I flew through. I could not get enough of it. So I would have to give this book a 4 out of 5, strictly for that matter. If I could rate the book strictly for the last half of it, it would give a full 5. It would get a full 5 out of 5. I'm not kidding. I enjoyed it that much. But the first half really slowed it down for me. Still one of my favorite books I've read this year, but just it took a lot for me to get through the first half. So just know that the first half is so slow. Like I said, we're in the southern continent, which is called Antarctica. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And basically, Chaol and Nezran have gone there because Chaol has heard of some healers there at the Torah there that could really help him be able to walk because of the events after Queen of Shadows. And also they're there to try to convince the Kagon, hopefully I pronounced that right, to join the army and fight in Aelin's side against the Vlad. Gosh, I even look at pronunciation, guys, I still butcher it. So that's what this whole book is about, is Chaol and Nezran's journey, mainly Chaol's, I would say, and his journey of just trying to get healed with walking and also trying to heal himself. Chaol was very butchered, in my opinion, in Queen of Shadows. Like I said, I've been a huge fan of Chaol ever since day one. I've liked Chaol and Celaena together, and I'm kind of the unpopular opinion on that matter, but I always have liked them, and I probably always will, but I felt like Chaol's character was really destroyed in Queen of Shadows to make room for Rowan, for people to be like, oh, Rowan, he's amazing, he's the best. And I felt like Sarah J. Maas kind of just really obliterated Chaol, like, a lot. So I was very upset about that. And I don't think that he necessarily needed a redemption arc because Chaol is a very complex character, as a lot of these characters are in this world. Chaol has grown up thinking this one thing his whole life. And then when Celaena enters his life, things change for him. His opinions change. His whole world literally changes. He goes back on things that he thought was right his whole life. And he's now, you know, realizing that he was wrong. So a lot of things have happened for Chaol. He's really just changed as a person. He's had his heart broken. He's broken hearts. He's learned about things he was doing wrong. He's turned his back on things. He's a lot of things have happened to Chaol. So I don't think he needed a redemption arc, because a lot of people say he's needed redemption, and I've said that before, but now I felt like he just needed to be written better. He deserved more of a story and more of a better writing, if that makes sense, and more better writing. I'd wanted more Chaol in Queen of Shadows, but you didn't get enough of him, and I felt like the only reason he was in that one book was to be like, here, let's destroy Chaol so people will like Rowan a little bit more and accept him with Aelin and not Chaol. So I was happy that it was going to be a full-length book. I love Chaol, and I loved him in this book even more. His development was just astounding. Like, I went into this book loving Chaol. I came out of this book loving Chaol so much more. So if you're one of the people that don't like Chaol, I would suggest reading this book. I wouldn't say it's gonna like change your mind or anything of him, but it's going to give you a better perspective of him, of what he's gone through, of what he's faced, of what he needs to change, of what he was right about. It just really dives into his character really full throttle, which I enjoyed a ton. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will not read this book because they don't like Chaol. And I get that, but I feel like this book is also very necessary to read. A lot of people have been asking, is this book necessary to read in the Throne of Glass series? It's called Throne of Glass number 6 for a reason. A lot of important information is thrown into this book. Things that you're not going to want to miss for the 7th and last book. Especially towards the latter end of this book. You learn a crap ton of things and you're just like, what? And you need to know those before going into the 7th book. So I recommend this book to you for sure. I really enjoyed it. The first half was very, very slow, but the latter half definitely made up for it. It was an amazing book with amazing character arcs, amazing new characters that I really enjoyed. Some I didn't really enjoy, but overall, definitely really loved it. So now, moving into spoilers, I will be spoiling Tower of Dawn. So if you have not read this book, you should probably not watch any further, just so you know. Here we go. Spoilers starting now. So, in my hodgepodge notes here, I have written a whole bunch of things here. So, let's talk about Irene. Irene was a main character in this book, and we've seen Irene before. She was in one of the short stories in The Assassin's Blade, which I have still not read. I know, you can beat me up. I want to beat myself up. She was in the story The Assassin and the Healer, and Irene was the healer in that story. So, she's still kind of a new character. We know her from that novella, but not fully. So she is the healer in the Torah. I'm looking at the pronunciation guide. I'm still messing it up. And she's a very, very talented healer. She can really heal sicknesses. She can make people walk again. She can heal arms, all things of that nature. So her and Chaol are put together because she's assigned to heal him, and she is very, very not happy about that because she really does not like Chaol and what he's done, what the king has done, and things like that. Of course, things happen. A love story happens between Chaol and Irene. That's kind of our main thing going on here with romance. And I was so against it at first. I was like, let me tell you right now, I don't care how far my freaking Chaol and Aelin ship is sinking. I'm still going down with that ship. When the first glimpses of romance started happening, I was against it. Now, I kind of like them together. I feel like they're really good for each other. I also feel like she's very reminiscent of Celaena herself, which is a whole different thing because pretty much, if you think about it, Celaena saved Irene and told her to go to this Torah, and freaking Chaol would have never met her if it wasn't for that. So he's like, so Celaena / Aelin, I so hate that so much, is like to thank for this new romance in Chaol's life, which is insane. And she's kind of like Celaena because she's always been like, I look up to her so much. And I'm like, Chaol, like, I don't know, it's so weird. So anyway, so they have this romantic thing going on, and the fact that they got married at the end of the book, I'm still like, what? Like, I don't understand why they got married. I don't know. Like, the whole fact that Chaol was about to die, which, oh my gosh, I'm so glad he did not die, and that Irene saved his life, but she bound his life to her, so when she's like at her full strength, Chaol can walk just fine, but as her power is depleting, if she's healing someone, Chaol has to use the chair again, which I really enjoy. I really thought that they were gonna like heal him full length and he was gonna be able to walk, and then we're gonna talk about the disabled at all, but I really like that they did not, that Sarah J. Maas did not do that. A lot of people are very iffy about the disabled rep in this book, and I thought she handled it beautifully, like the line where he says that chair is not a prison, and I was like, like, yes, that's so true. So I really like the way she handled it, and the fact that he's healed, but he's not fully healed. He still probably has to use that chair a ton, which we're probably going to see a lot of in the 7th book, because they may be in completely opposite ends of the battlefield, and she might be healing somebody and using a ton of her power, and then he will all of a sudden just fall because he can't walk anymore because Irene's powers are depleted. So it's really interesting to see how they're kind of linked together, and if one of them dies, they both die. So I'm like probably 80% sure they're gonna die in the next book, either both of them or one of them. I don't know which one yet. If I had to pick, I don't want it to be Chaol. I love Chaol, but I think that's kind of foreshadowing of something that's gonna happen in the 7th book, because some deaths have to happen. I mean, it's the last book. Things have got to happen. I felt like we didn't get a full resolution with like the kind of deaths in A Court of Wings and Ruin, her other series. That's not spoiling anything for you, but we need to see some sort of destruction, which hopefully we'll get, but it'll probably break my heart. But that whole the link their lives together things, it's interesting. I do really like them together. Like, I was in that romance. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was very steamy. I thought it was just very interesting to read about the progression of how they came to be a couple. I really enjoyed the romance overall. It did move kind of quickly, but then not really, because it was a 650-page book, but I like them overall. Now, I want to talk about Chaol. Chaol was really, I don't want to say redeemed in this book, but he kind of was. I loved, one of my favorite parts of the whole book is when Irene comes to him at the end. She's like, we're going to finish this today once and for all. He was in his injury, and Chaol sees himself down there, and he really battles with things that he sees. He sees himself like with Selena, he sees himself, and he sees Aelin and Rowan on the couch, and he sees himself go through all these things and all these horrible things he's done, and really the darkness, the Vlad that they thought is kind of in themselves, like it's eating them up from the inside. He's been punishing himself since like day one. He's a very conflicted character. He carries a lot of weight on his shoulders. And I love the fact that she went in there and she was like, you need to heal yourself. And he had to face all these things that he's been repressing and really been putting deep down in him for so long. And I loved that scene so much. I thought it was done beautifully, and I just really loved that he felt like completed with all of his feelings towards every single character. I've always loved his brotherly bond with Dorian. I thought that was amazing. I love that scene. So Chaol went through so much in this book, and he grew so much, and it's finally good to see Chaol like a little bit more happy and not so, you know, angry and hurt all of the time. He has resolution finally, and he can grow as a person, and he can find love again, and he can be happy for Aelin, and he can be supportive, and it's just a whole different Chaol in my opinion, and I loved every bit of it, and I loved watching his progression so much. Also in this book we feature a lot of Nesryn. So Nesryn is a character I'm still very much like, she's okay. She was kind of meant as a distraction for Chaol in Queen of Shadows, just there to kind of fill the void, and I still felt like she was kind of like that in this book. She had definitely a major plot in this book. She deals a lot with her family, which I loved. You can definitely tell that she cares about her family a ton, and she also has a lot of plot with one of the Calgon's sons, Sartik, and their relationship, I mean, it's okay. I like reading about the Ruck Riders, and that was interesting. I didn't find their story very fascinating until they got to the spiders. That was a very interesting way, especially all the information that was revealed. But overall, with Nesryn, I'm just like, she's so-so. I don't know if she'll grow on me, if she'll not. I don't know. So I kind of was not in love with her chapters at all, really. I just found her to kind of like, again in this book, kind of filling the void with pages in this book. So I don't know if the only one that feels that way. I'm just not a Nesryn person. I did like the character Sartik. I thought he was very interesting. So other than relationships, what else happened? I can't think of anything. I'll just talk I didn't write so many notes, I told you. The ending. So we learned a ton of new information in this book. We learned that Maeve is not a freaking Fae queen. She is a Vlad queen. What? I didn't see that coming. Pats on the back for Sarah J. Maas for that. Did not see that coming at all. She was married to one of the freaking princes, not the one we expected, and she just came over here in this land, disguised herself as Fae, and made everyone around her, like, she weaved so many people's minds into just naturally thinking that there was another Fae sister and that she was the queen, and she's really not. She's a freaking flag. What? that was a good twist. That was one of the best twists I've ever read in a Sarah J Maas book, because when I read that, I was like, what the hell? This woman is so freaking deceptive and horrible already. We're just gonna amp it up 10,000 notches. Good to go. Also, we learned that there are not just Vlag princes, there's also Vlag princesses. So we got a whole new slew of things going on in here. We learned obviously that Duva was controlled by the Vlag. We kind of knew that there was somebody. I didn't expect it was going to be Duva because she was pregnant. I kind of didn't like but it was very, you know, it was smart on the Vlag. And the last chapter of Aelin, it's like a glimpse into the next book of her like being like taken to Maeve, and now they release her out of her iron prison, and Maeve's like, let's get started. Whew, that was an intense chapter. Oh my gosh. Overall, so much happened in this book. So much that I definitely did not even talk about, so forgive me on that. Don't butcher me in the comments. I know I should probably read this book before the 7th one comes out. But either way, a solid Sarah J Maas book. One of my favorite in the series. I don't know how I would rate them right now. I have to think about it, but I definitely preferred Tower of Dawn over Empire Storms. I'll say that much. Just loved the character progression. The plot was somewhat slow, but then it got amazing towards the end. There was just, oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Irene can pull the Vlag out of you, so she can heal them. Like, she can make this like light come in them and heal them. So Arwen, I forget his name, wants her because he knows that what she could do, which is also why Maeve is holding all of her healers like hostage. Irene's definitely gonna hold a big part in the next book because that girl's got a lot of power now. Like, a lot of people want her. So either way, amazing book from Sarah J Maas. Loved it. First half slow, second half amazing. If you have read this book, let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. And like I said, I know I left out a ton, so spare me in comments, but I would like to know, here's for people, if you were not a Chaol fan before reading Tower of Dawn, has your opinion changed after reading it? And if you were a Chaol fan, are you still a Chaol fan? I would like to know that, so let me know down in the comments what your opinions are and answer those questions for me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.